Hi, I'm Jeff Stelling, and this is football's greatest Euros. I've been joined by Paul Merson, and each week throughout the tournament, we'll discuss the games and the goals and the headlines around England and Scotland. We'll also get Merse to list some of his favourite Euro moments and players, and he'll tell you what it's like to be away at a major tournament. Welcome to football's greatest Euros. So, Merse, nice to see you again. Good to have you back. We didn't put you off the last time. European Championships coming up. You've been practicing your pronunciations?
Not really. You know, and we get drawn against Serbia as well. But no, really looking forward to it, Jeff. I'm really looking. A massive tournament. You know, you got the creme de la creme. You know, and we got every single chance of winning it.
Yeah, I mean, the Serbians. When you're practicing there, every single Serbian player's name ends in ich. Okay,
right.
So you know you've got a chance to get in there. I think he means son of. It's
oh, does it?
Yeah,
really?
I think something like that. And he was everyone is an itch.
Yeah,
time for England to scratch that itch. Hey,
they need to. They need. Yeah, I'm confident. I am confident. I'm very bullish about England this time round.
So, Merse, England's opening game on Sunday. There's a lot of doom and gloom, isn't there, after the Iceland defeat? Should we be worried?
I would say no. I think this is a pinnacle of players' careers, go to tournaments, especially now with England where you've got a chance of winning the Euros, a big chance. So no one wanted to get injured. You know, so yeah, for me, I mean, Bellingham comes back in, who's a major part of this team. So I'm not worried. I think it works in England's advantage. I think the other teams then don't fear England as much as what they thought they would.
And a few of the other fancied sides. I mean, France only drew at home with Canada.
Yeah.
Portugal lost at home to Croatia. So it's not just England. But I think people are worried that this was a side who, after they scored Iceland, sat deep. And England weren't able to create much. And I think people are concerned that might be a pattern in the Euros as well.
And that would be my problem. I think England could go all the way. But I know it sounds weird, but they've got to get out their group. They've got to get out their group, because I think when they get out their group, you're going to play against teams that will fancy themselves against England and will have a go at England. But that's going to be the problem. And that's why I couldn't believe the Jack Grealish situation. I really couldn't believe Jack Grealish not going. He plays against 10 at the back week in, week out. You know, he doesn't have to play in the game, but come on as sub, try and break teams down. If you're chasing a game and you're bringing on an Eze or a Palmer, they haven't played against that this season.
But don't you think Jack's become too predictable? He doesn't go past players anymore. And if you look at his stats this season for City in the Premier League, 3 goals, 1 assist. That's not good enough, is it?
Not really. He hasn't played enough, if I'm being honest. He has been injured, but he plays in the big games. You know, you have a look when he's fit. Pep Guardiola, you know, he played against Real Madrid both games. You know, that they were big games. He hadn't played a lot of football before then. He doesn't beat people like he did at Villa, I know that. But against Villa, he was playing in open spaces. You know, it was open play. You can go past 1 or 2. The way he plays now, 10 behind the ball, he holds the ball. He's so confident on the ball. He commits people, and he sees that little pass like he did against, like what he did in the last friendly before Iceland. So for me, a big, major shock.
So, Merse, let's play the guessing game. Everybody loves to do it. Name their team for that first game against Serbia. And I've done it on TalkSport. I got battered, absolutely battered for my team, which was Pickford in goal, and then Walker, Gahey, Lewis Dunk, Trippier, Alexander-Arnold and Rice sitting in front of the back 4, Bellingham ahead of them, Kane down the middle, and Palmer and Gordon as the wide players. So some notable absentees. So what's your 11? You can't have Jack Grealish.
Yeah, and I won't have that team neither. My team would be Pickford in goal. Am I picking my team or am I picking Gareth's team?
No,
my
your team. Because Gareth won't pick my team. That's for sure.
No, nor probably anybody else. I don't think Lewis Dunk's dad would pick that team. I would go Pickford in goal. I would go Walker right back, Trippier left back, Stones and Gay. I think that picks itself, in my opinion. I just think it picks itself. I would go then Rice as the holding midfield player with Wharton, Bellingham in front of him, and then I'd have Foden, Kane, Saka.
Okay.
I think I'm a massive fan of the kid Wharton. If we're going to break teams down, we've got to get the ball and pass it quickly. And he does that better than anybody. Gareth won't do that. Gareth will. Yeah, I don't know what he'll do. I think he might. I've heard he might say play Trent Alexander in there. We've got to look at this as like when we go and play France and Germany. This is the hardest position in the world, playing centre midfield. It's the hardest position on the football pitch. Can't just throw people in there and go.
But Adam Wharton, fantastic as he's been, this season, he is so inexperienced. At the start of the season, he was playing against Huddersfield and Rotherham in the Championship.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but he's playing with Declan Rice, who's experienced. He's playing with a player who's got a chance of getting Ballon d'Or in Bellingham. So he's playing, who's a leader as well. So he's not playing with two lads who are shy or only looking after their own game. They talk well, they're experienced players, even though Bellingham's young. It just moves the ball quickly, and if we're going to break these teams down, you need people who are going to pass it quickly, not people who are going to take 7, 8, 9, 10 touches on the ball and everybody gets back into position. So there's a reason he's going. I don't see the reason in taking him if you're not having that little thing in your head, does he play in these games? Because I don't see the point in taking him. You might as well take a proven Jack Grealish who's got the experience and played enough time. So there must be something in Gareth said that's telling him he fancies this kid and he might play.
I'm going to come back and stand up for Lewis Dunk in a moment. But those front players, look, I picked Cole Palmer instead of Bukayo Saka, partly because I don't think necessarily Bukayo Saka's 100% fit at the moment. And Palmer looks such a confident boy.
Yeah, know me, I'm a Chelsea fan, so I go and watch a lot. Different games now. He's playing at Chelsea. I go at Stamford Bridge and watch him. He's been absolutely outstanding this season. But he'll go and get the ball off Gusto. Gusto will get the ball and he'll just go and take it off him. He'll go and play and he'll touch the ball 100 times. You can't do that when you play for England. You've got to hold your position. You've got to stay there. He touches the ball 100 times for Chelsea. He'll touch the ball 25 times for England. Different. Saka's used to that. Saka plays that way. He's played 10 at the back. Again, like Grealish with Arsenal, people defend. You've got to play these players that are used to playing against this kind of defences, in my opinion. I'm a massive fan of Palmer. I think he's outstanding. But he doesn't play in front of Saka.
Yeah, and I get the Saka argument because he's been brilliant for England. Absolutely brilliant for England. There's no doubt about that. The other one I got battered for, of course, was there's no Phil Foden there. And I put Anthony Gordon in instead because I think he's had a wonderful season. And I think when he's been in an England shirt, even against Iceland, in the early stages anyway, he looked the most likely to open the door. And Foden, 4 goals in 34 games for England. And, that's unbelievably poor by his standards, isn't it? Do you get the impression that Gareth Southgate and his backroom staff are sort of scratching their heads as to how they get the best out of Foden?
Yeah, and I think it's the same with Foden as well. Foden's got to get solutions as well. See, when you're at Man City, they have patterns of play where they move the ball that quickly and then someone gets in. That ain't the case. We've seen it a million times. I play with one of the best players you've ever seen in John Barnes. People go, he never really done it for England. But he got doubled up every time he played. People just stopped him. It was stop John Barnes, stop. It's getting a bit like that with England. People will be going, stop Foden play. They'd have seen him enough times at Man City. You've got to get solutions. Personally, I would probably, to open that up for Gordon, and you got a good case for Gordon, very good case. I thought, he's direct, he's pacey. He tries to take players on very quickly, doesn't want to take too many touches. I'd even go as far as to say, play Rice as the holding midfield player and then play Bellingham and Foden. Let teams worry about us. And then play Gordon, Saka and Kane. We got to have a go at these teams. You start playing 2 holding midfield players and then we're throwing it onto the other teams because, as you say, all they want is a set play. Yeah.
It's just not Gareth's nature, though, is it? He's cautious. He's naturally cautious.
I play with Gareth. Gareth was my captain at Villa. Amazing lad. Great. One of the players that I was shocked how good he was when I got to Villa. From a distance, you didn't think he was as good as what he was, and he was. But he's a defender, and that's the way it is. Every session he's ever worked on from a young age up to he stopped playing football was a defensive session because that's what he was, a defender. It's hard. Of course, it's hard. And that's why I never. That's why I think he's got Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank in to work with the forwards and things like that. But Gareth will always go and sit back. It's just a natural thing. I don't blame him for that. I don't, because he's a defender. But we've got to have. He's quite clever, Gareth. We play against Belgium, Brazil, and he goes, "Okay, we'll play your way, how you want to play. We'll open the game up. We get beat and we draw."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Gareth ain't silly. He knows the way we have to play because we ain't very good defensively.
So when you knew him at Villa, what was he like as a person? Was he a risk taker in any part of his life?
I see him park on a double yellow once.
Did you?
And then he moved, and I thought, "Oh, Gareth, I thought you were changing." But no, just an unbelievable professional. Honestly, he's such a nice. Didn't think he was going to be a manager because he's so nice. And that's why I was flabbergasted with his decisions, because I thought he might go safe with the younger players, with your Waltons and people like that, and say, not this time round. So just a lovely bloke who I hope he gets it right, because these players have got a free swing. They've got a free swing, Jeff. If anything goes wrong, it's going to be Gareth's fault. I hear it all the time, people coming up to me, "We win the Euros." "Yeah, we'll win it." "No, we won't, because of Gareth." People are already blaming him if we don't win it.
And in fairness to Gareth, I think it's done a brilliant job. If you looked at that squad, we can argue the toss over Jack Grealish. But otherwise, I think he's picked a squad that everybody, would admire, the fact that he has picked young players, he has picked attacking players, Surprised a few people by naming that squad.
Well, very much so. I mean, the 3 players he left out has 150 caps.
Yeah.
I mean, who leaves that out? Not being horrible, but Rashford and Grealish getting every other team. They're getting every other squad in the Euros.
Marcus Rashford, really? On his form this season?
No, when they're hot. I mean, but I would have took Rashford. I would have took him. You're taking 26 players. This is why it tells me that Walton's got a chance of playing, because I don't see why you would take him. I mean, Rashford's been poor, but 9 out of 10s win tournaments. 7 out of 10s, 7.5 out of 10s win you the Premier League consistently. Yeah. But you've got to be hot in this competition. You've got to get players that are going to get to a 9.5 and a 9 out of 10. 7.5 won't win you anything. And I just think when Rashford's hot, he's hot. And I just think in the games that we got to start with, it would have given him a chance to get hot.
Yeah.
And if he didn't get hot, I think we'd have still got by and got through. And then you say, got that wrong. Now I'm going to change it for the last 16. It's so different going to tournaments. It's such a different experience.
Okay, I'm going to persuade you that Lewis Dunk should start against Serbia, okay?
Yeah.
So, said Serbia, the biggest, most physical, most aggressive side in the tournament. Alexander Mitrovic, we know all about him. They've got Luka Jovic as well, and Vlahovic, they bomb balls in from set plays. I don't think England's back 4, if we put Stones in there. I don't think they've necessarily got the height or the physicality. Stones is a lovely footballer, but he's better with the ball rather than trying to win the ball. And also there's a question mark over his fitness. So for me, Lewis Dunk, he's 6'4", for goodness sake. He's aerially dominant. I think he's a sort of leader that they need at the back as well. And despite what people think, he can play. There's only Rodri passed the ball successfully more times in the Premier League this season than Lewis Dunk. And I know a lot of those are little ones from the back, but he can also hit those brilliant long diagonals as well. And I know he hasn't been brilliant for England so far, but if you looked at his stats for Brighton, and these are other people's stats, not mine, over the last 7 years at Brighton, he's only made mistakes leading to 3 goals in 7 years. So he's had a dodgy streak. I know he's had a dodgy streak for England, but I just think with Stones, with a question mark on his fitness against the big physical Serbs, Lewis Dunk's your man. Yeah, so you put him in your team?
You know what? You are swinging it. You are. Because Gareth will look at that. Gareth's a defender. Gareth will look, they're not going to open us up. They're not going to have a pattern of play where they go bang, wallop, crash, and someone gets in down the side and smashes it in. So it is going to be set plays. Managers look at that. managers look at that, and you might be right. You might be right on this, and I say that because it's horses for courses, and you might.
You wouldn't necessarily play them against Denmark.
No, and you wouldn't play against them against a French team. In my opinion, probably not, because they're not going to rely on that power and strength and set plays. But you might be right.
Do you think Gareth has some sleepless nights about this defence?
I don't think about the defence. I think about everything. I think it's a tournament he goes into sleepless. I think he's got everything to lose and just one thing to gain, and that's winning it. Anything less than winning it, and I think that's it. So for me, it will be sleepless nights. It will. It's, other managers go into tournaments and you go, well, we're not really expected to win this, or we're not really a big threat. Yeah, and I think that it'll be hard for Gareth to enjoy it, which is a shame, really, because I think he's been outstanding. But the pressure is so much on him. I think hopefully the players will take that and know that the pressure's on the manager, that they can go out and relax.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking a lot about Gareth, so I'll ask the obvious question. Win or lose, in Germany, will he be the England manager after this, do you think?
I think if he loses, definitely not. And I think if you win, you've got to go out on the top. I mean, it is the hardest thing in the world to get that right, to go out on the top, at the top, so... But for me, yeah,
in the way I did it, Soccer Saturday, that's what you're thinking of, isn't it?
Yeah, but you only want to go out once. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to keep on doing it every other week. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, for me, so for me, yeah, I think it would be then. Will he get? Has he got an offer? And then the other thing is, yeah, but at the same time, in the back of your head, you think it's the World Cup. The World Cup. I know this is the Euros, but it's not the World Cup. The World Cup's the ultimate. So for me, he's got to win this to go to the World Cup. If he don't win this, I don't see him getting to the World Cup.
I mean, the big thing is, we talk about the worries about the group stage. England have got to win their group, haven't they? Because if they don't, if they came second and Germany win their group, we play the Germans in the last 16. I mean, that's, you do not want that. You do not want that.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Germany.
Are you not?
No, but the only thing will worry me that we hadn't won our group. That would be my problem.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that means something's gone horribly wrong for us not to win the group. But I don't worry about Germany. I don't think they're a team. I think going forward they're decent, but I don't look at them as a major threat. Only because it's home advantage, they're getting a mention. If this competition was in England, they wouldn't get in my top 4.
They've had a few good results recently, though. I mean, they've beaten the French and they've beaten the Dutch and they beat Greece recently, And I mean, they've come from a ridiculous position where they were hopeless, getting beaten at home by everybody and having Kai Havertz playing as a left back. But I think that they've come a long way since then. I do worry about them.
Yeah, the teams they beat, all teams that had to qualify, so they were friendlies. Do you know what I mean? So they're playing the teams in friendlies. That worries me when you're playing friendly matches, consistently playing friendly matches. But they wouldn't be in my equation if it wasn't in Germany. And being at home gives them a massive advantage. But they're still quite a young team. They're not like... I know they've got some experience. Of course they have. But they got younger players and that there's a lot of pressure when you're playing tournaments at home that you got... And law of averages usually says you get to at least the semi-finals usually. So they will be, but for me, I'd be shocked if Germany won it. I really would.
When I said that, they were hopeless a while ago, they lost at home to Colombia and Japan and away to Poland. And then later on in their build, they lost at home to Turkey and away in Austria. That's before they put this good run together. I worry because they got, Gundogan and Havertz and Rudiger and Toni Kroos and Kimmich, Florian Wirtz, who's up. Yeah. All the Bayer Leverkusen boys, as many as they can take in, actually, because they had such a wonderful season. But so I worry about Germany's strength in depth. I think maybe they haven't got that. But who do you see as the big players then? Is it the usual suspects, France and so on?
I only say France. I don't think this is a strong tournament. I don't think it's a strong tournament. I think it's timings. You look at the teams. Italy are not blessed with a lorry load of world-class players anymore. Germany. You name Germany, but bring in Leverkusen, get Leverkusen players in. They got ripped to shreds against Atalanta.
Yeah.
They didn't have a plan B at all. So, for me, you wouldn't go in with that team. I look at Belgium. Belgium's squad's the same one that's been for the last 25 tournaments, probably. Do you know what I mean? And not done it. I only see England or France. They're the only two teams I see that can win this competition.
What about, looking at squads, I looked at the Portugal squad. Ruben Dias, João Cancelo, Bruno Fernandes, Paulinho, Bernardo Silva, Ruben Neves, Pedro Neto, Diego Jota, Gonzalo Ramos, João Felix, Leao, Ronaldo. I mean, if Roberto Martinez, and they've had a couple of iffy results, by the way, if Roberto Martinez could get a tune out of them, they'd be a threat, wouldn't they?
They will be a threat. You reel them all off, and it's the names reel off. And you got to put them together now.
Yeah,
you got to put them together. And then you name all them players. How many of them get in the England team? Do you know what I mean?
Well, Ruben Dias would be one
Dias definitely gets in.
Away.
Cancelo ain't playing in front of Walker any day of the week.
Okay.
Fernandes ain't playing in front of Foden or Bellingham.
Fernandes would have a shout, and so too would Bernardo Silva, wouldn't they?
Who are we leaving out of our team, though?
Well, I just think they've done it consistently,
I always look at it, I always weigh it up and go, who would get in our team? I see France, and there's a few that would get in from the France team. There's a few, do you know what I mean? Mbappe definitely gets in. The lad Hernandez gets in at left back for me in front of Trippier, because Trippier's a right back. The two centre halves at France would probably get in. So, and you could have a case for the lad from Real Madrid with a long name, whatever his name is. It begins with C. So he would. I'm glad I'm not doing co-coms over there.
I just think I would find a way to get Bruno Fernandes in that team, because he's been Manchester United's best player, by a distance this season again.
The way England are going to play, that means leaving out Bellingham or Foden. But you left Foden out anyway. You left him out for Dunk.
Yeah. No, I didn't leave him out. I didn't leave him out for Dunk. But there you go. That's how you fit him. I just think that. My question mark would be, two question marks about Portugal would be, Roberto Martinez was in charge of Belgium when they were absolutely their peak, and they didn't win a tournament, which has to be a question mark against the manager, doesn't it? And my other question mark would be, what do you do with Ronaldo? Do you start him?
This is the problem. This is the problem. How, he's a strong character. If he doesn't play and he gets restless in the camp, and then all of a sudden it becomes unhappy, and that's the problem. But he's been playing in a league that's nowhere near the standard of the Euros. So that's another one you got to worry with. What's he going to do there? They got good players, good individuals, but you got to put that team together. You've got to put it together. It wouldn't surprise me, Jeff, and it wouldn't. And I only see England and France, and I don't think it's the strongest tournament. It wouldn't surprise me if you got like a Denmark or someone like that who went on a crazy one and got to the semis, and then all of a sudden, I think there'll be a team. I don't think it'll be usual suspects. I don't think you'll get the big four in the semi-final. I think we'll get a shock along the way.
I think you're right as well, because I look at the traditionally big sides, the Dutch. Don't see them.
No.
Don't see that at all. Don't see Belgium, because a lot of their best players are past their best.
They've been there too many times.
Eden Hazard's gone. Kevin De Bruyne, a few question marks, had a lot of injuries, tough season, although I love him to death. Don't see Spain. Don't think Italy are a threat. No. So, somebody's got to fill those last four places, haven't they?
Exactly. And
we haven't mentioned Scotland, yes?
Okay.
I think let's mention Scotland, because you look, they've done brilliantly to get here.
Yeah.
For a start. Germany in the opening game. I look back through some of the major tournaments' first games, and there's plenty of times that the hosts have slipped up. So is this a good time for Scotland to play Germany?
If you get a result, it's always the best time. If you don't get the result, you wanted to play them last, when you might need a point, or they were already through, and then it's a dead rubber sort of thing. The country, Germany, need the businesses over in Germany need Scotland there. Every tournament's a better tournament with Scotland there, with their fans. For me, I never really treat a tournament. When I was growing up, that's all you ever remember was tournaments with Scotland fans in there. And, when they went that long without getting in, I think it's great that they're there. Good time to play Germany. You definitely got to play this game in 15 minutes, but get through the first 15 minutes, keep on going. The longer this game goes 0-0, Scotland could cause an upset.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. They haven't won a game at the Euros since 1996, which was before most of the squad was born even. But I look at them, and it's not like they haven't got talent in there. Okay, you look at outstanding players. You've got McGinn and Andy Robertson, obviously. Scott McTominay does a job. Billy Gilmore does a job. So they've got enough quality to worry a few sides. I worry about who's going to put the ball in the back of the net for them.
That'll be their problems, put the ball in the back of the net. But they got Steve Clarke, very good coach. Tactically very good, if you want to set someone up not to lose a football match as well, and I think that helps them. I think it doesn't help when it will get to the last game and they probably have to go and win a game. But if you're asking Scotland to set up and be hard to beat, they beat Spain at home 1-0. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I think they've got a very good manager. But as you say, they've got to score goals, and I don't know where they're going to get the goals.
You mentioned memories of the Euros. And I'm going to ask you about your own memories because obviously you've played in the European Championship yourself. But what are the sort of standout European Championship moments for you? What are the things that sort of stick in your head?
I know it's lazy, but you got to say Gaza.
Well, it's not lazy because it's just a great moment.
Yeah,
unless you're Scottish, of course.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things. I remember Platini. Do you know what I mean? The France one many years ago, but the Gaza one. The goal and the celebration and everything about it brought the nation together. I think it was, a special moment and a goal that people still talk about today. I mean, that's when it's a good goal, when people still talk about that goal today.
Yeah, it was a goal of genius, and I think the celebration might have been a bit was it Teddy Sheringham was involved in the celebration as well?
Yeah. But fair play to them to have it there. Do you know what I mean? To say, right, if we score, because it's very easy when that happens and you score and then people forget, So about intelligent footballers, they would have remembered them too. They were bright footballers. They had a brain.
I mean, that was an amazing tournament, wasn't it? Obviously we're hosts, but one of the things that stands out in my mind, one of the great England performances when they beat Holland 4-1. And that was.
Yeah. I mean, everything about it, phenomenal there. Sheringham were absolute perfect together. Everything about the tournament, there was good teams in it, good players from other teams in it. It was a hard tournament. And the song was unreal as well. 3 lines. Everything was just right. It was just, it just brought, and hopefully that'll be the case this time round. I think, we need something to bring everybody together. Yeah.
I mean, look, this is football's greatest. So I think if we're naming our greatest European moments, Gaza's goal would certainly be there. For me, the win over Holland would be there as well. If you want to pick a non-English one, at least for me, going back before a lot of people would remember, it was Marco van Basten's goal in 1988.
I put that down as my what's name moment, my favourite moment. The volley was mind-blowing, just mind-blowing. I mean, to score that goal, I remember when he ripped Tony Adams to shreds. Tony was our captain at Arsenal and he scored a hat-trick again. He was turned his blood. Do you know what I mean? He twisted his blood inside out. And he was like... When people talk about great players, we always forget about Marco van Basten because he never played for so long and he had a bad ankle and he had to retire at a young age. But he was called the Prince. I mean, he was like one of the greatest players we've seen. But that goal was 1 in a million. And I always look at goals, Jeff. And I see goals, people score from the halfway line. I see Casado do it the other week. And you go, oh, what a goal. That happens on a Sunday morning. That'll happen at Wellmwood Scrubs, on the pitches at Wellmwood Scrubs. That won't happen on a Sunday morning, what Van Basten done. And that's when you talk about great goals.
Yeah. I mean, the angle was just ridiculous.
Just
to try. And he caught it so sweetly. It was, I mean, one of my favourite goals of all time.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just brilliant. To you, another great goal, and it's a completely different one. But again, in Euro memories, it would be up there for me as well. And it's a penalty. and it was the penalty that Stuart Pearce took in the shootout against Spain, having missed in the World Cup finals. You know, it was a World Cup semi-final, wasn't he? He missed in, you know. And I'll never forget. Well, I couldn't watch. I think the whole nation couldn't watch. We saw Stuart Pearce come up to take a penalty in a shootout again, you know, and the bottle.
You can't underestimate what that was like. You know, I was fortunate to take one in the World Cup in '98. For him to miss one in a World Cup semi-final and then to take one at Wembley in a massive shootout is like the utmost respect. You know, because you see penalty shootouts now, Jeff, and you'll watch them at home on the telly, and they'll finish the penalties, and you'll go, "How come so-and-so never took one?" Or so-and-so. People don't want to step up. You know, and for him have to step up and take that penalty was just mind-blowing. And it's the walk from the halfway line and everything that was going through is, you know, for me, that just summed up the man. You know, he was a nightmare to play against, He was so hard, and that just summed it up.
What, was he the hardest player you played against?
He'd smash you, do you know what I mean? He'd smash you, and then he'd pick you up. And then he'd say, "I'll do it again." And then the ref would go, "What? 3 more of them, Pearce, and I'll book you." And you're like, 3 more? 3 more? You know what I mean? So, yeah, but he was fair. He was one of them that took the ball and you at the same time. He wasn't a dirty player. He was just a hard player.
Brilliant. I think he's admired. But, you know, I can imagine everybody behind their sofas when he walked up to take that penalty and when he scored. And I remember the celebration, and it was like anger almost in his face.
For all that weight, you know, because to miss in the semi-final must be the ultimate. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we had a couple of players, Incy and Bat, who missed in '98. That was last 16. Semi-finals a lot different. Lot different.
What was it like walking up there to take a penalty in that game? Such a massive, massive game.
I'd missed a penalty 3 months before that at Sheffield United. Sheffield United missed a penalty, so that was all going through my head before I was going up there. And I remember I was sitting there, I was standing there thinking, if I can't score against Sheffield United on a Tuesday night, what chance have I got here? And I'm going to let my country, mum and dad down, my family. I was petrified. And Glenn Hoddle, I'm a big fan of Glenn. I personally think Glenn would still be manager of England now if he didn't say what he said. It was amazing. Very spiritual. Very spiritual. Yeah. And he come up to me with his hand and he put his hand on the middle of my chest and he just looked me in the eye and he went, "You will not miss." And I thought, thank God for that. And I thought, if I do miss, I'm blaming you anyway because you told me I was going to score. And I remember I walked up, and the walk that's the thing. It's the walk. And I got to the thing, and I put the ball on the spot, and it was the best feeling I've ever had. Honestly, the best feeling. And believe me, I spent a lot of money on feelings. I knew I was going to score. And I turned around, went to take my penalty, and the goalie was arguing with the ref, and it went on forever. And he got a yellow card in his out. I think his name was Ray, R-A-I. And he got booked, and I went and smashed my penalty in the top corner. But David Batty, Incy missed theirs. Obviously, they weren't as scatty as me. They didn't believe in the hand. But but you look back now, people go to me, how comes David Batty took one? But there weren't many people left. You know, Tony weren't going to take one. Sol Campbell weren't going to take one. Dave Seaman weren't going to take one. You know, David Beckham had been sent off. Paul Scholes had come off. I went on for him. So before you know it, there's not a lot of players left when you've only got 10 on the pitch.
Yeah. You mentioned Ivan Toney there, because a lot of people are saying, well, one of the reasons he's in the squad, and maybe the only reason he's in the squad, without being disrespectful to him, because he's a good footballer, I like him a lot, but, you know, he's in the squad to take a penalty. You can't pick a player, surely, just because he can take a penalty.
Well, we've got 26 players, so you can. In my opinion, he ain't going to play. You know, Watkins are not going to play unless Harry Kane gets injured, and if he does, and then we ain't winning the Euros anyway. But without a shadow of a doubt, if there's a minute to go and it's 0-0 in the semi-final, quarter-final, last 16 or final, Tony's coming on.
Yeah.
If he doesn't come on, it'd be uproar. It'd be, well, why did you even take him? Because if he hasn't played and he ain't going to take a penalty, and he is one of the best penalty takers. And when I watched him at Wembley the other week when he played the last break international, and he got penalty, I thought, oh, here's your test. This sends you on the plane if you score this. He just stepped up and scored like he was taking it at Brentford's ground.
It would be a big pressure, wouldn't it, though, to come on in a European Championship game and have to take a penalty in a penalty shootout with probably your first touch of the ball.
Yeah, you know what? He's got that. He's got that about him. It reminds me of like Tiz. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm going to score. I'm scoring. You know, and I think that's the thing. I think that they know that's their bread and butter. You know, one of their big things. He's an unbelievable penalty taker, and I see him take one at Wembley because I thought, here we go, this is a test. And yeah, I wouldn't have no problems at all. You know, other players I would. I'd be thinking, whoa. We see it at the last Euros. You remember when they come on, and I was thinking, no, but this lad is as good as they get at taking penalties, as good as they get.
Does Palmer fall into that category as well? Is he another one? If he's not on the pitch, you bring him on with a minute to go.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think you've got to play that way. I mean, we see sometimes you always look back sometimes and go, should have changed the goalie. You know, there's goalies that are better penalty stoppers than other. There is. That's just the way it works. You know, some get nearer to penalties, some never get near a penalty. So, yeah, Gareth got to have that in his head. Got to be aware as well, because when you're a manager of a game, the game passes you by, and before you know it, the final whistle goes, and you're like, I didn't make them subs. So, you know, he's got to be aware. His coaches have got to help him there and make sure he makes them subs just before the end.
So, look, greatest moments in the European Championship. I'm going to bring another one up, and this is one you're involved in, you know, because Denmark, who weren't even in the finals, you know, win it in 1992, which is a tournament you played in. And they got in because Yugoslavia were kicked out because of the trouble that was going on in the country at the time. And the players were said to have been on a holiday, been on the beach, and they'd come back again. They go and win the tournament. It's unthinkable, wasn't it? I think, and England's opening group game was against them.
Yeah,
I remember it. Yeah.
I started in that. Yeah, I started in that. I done my ankle, but they played like that. It was
like freedom, was it?
Yeah, it was just that freedom. You know, like we'll go out and we'll just go and play, and you know we're here. And I think it worked. I think sometimes you get these massive build-ups where you're away for 3 weeks in camps, or you're fighting to get into the squad, or don't want to get injured before the squad. And that's a lot of nervous energy. Theirs wasn't. Theirs was like, oh, we're in, get a team together and we'll go. Still got to go and produce, and fair play to them.
Look, it was an unhappy tournament from an England point of view, but it must have been great for you to be actually involved, to be picked in that tournament. What was it like when you got called up? You knew you were going to be playing in a massive tournament, by the way, then, because, you know, there are only 8 teams involved, so it was the creme de la creme.
Yeah, 100%. And I'd finished the season really well. I was on fire. You know, we were scoring loads of goals at Arsenal, believe it or not. It wasn't the 1-0 to the Arsenal.
No.
We were scoring loads of goals. So, yeah, to get picked. But when you get picked, in them days, you know, you didn't have mobile phones, or you didn't have, like, email. So you found out on teletext. You went home and it come up, you put it on teletext and the squad come up. And that was the way it was. You know, we didn't have Sky Sports News and then like a big massive press conference. You know, the team, the names come up. That's how you found out.
Amazing. So what was that feeling like then?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, to get picked, and then you start getting nervous. Of course you do. I mean, as you say, 8 teams in it. There's no real, you know, there's no give-me's. Do you know what I mean? You know, you go to the World Cup, and you'll get a team there that are going to get beat 4 and 5-0. So you're going to win that one football match or get off to a flyer. There, it was like, you know, Denmark has some unbelievable players that would have walked into our team. You know what I mean? Loudrop, people like that. So, you know, and one of the Loudrops didn't even come. Do you know what I mean? So, and he would have been captain of our team.
They had a pretty decent goalkeeper as well, didn't they?
Yeah, unbelievable
in
goalkeeper.
Peter Schmeichel.
Yeah, and then we bought John Jensen from that tournament. Yeah. So it was a hard tournament. But yeah, you get more of it was football violence in the end, Jeff. It took over. You remember, it was going mad at the time. It was real bad. But to play in a competition and be picked as one of the 22 best players in the country, or in the top 3 players in your position in the country at that time in a footballing nation is massive.
Yeah.
You know, it's only afterwards you understand when these players get picked, they won't realise that now, but they will when they get to 50 or 45, when they are getting picked as the best player in there. When that 11 line up on the first game, they are the best player in the country in that position on that day. That's some doing when you're it's like playing for the All Blacks. Do you know what I mean? It's the equivalent, really, because England's a footballing nation. You know, that's our main sport.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to scratch my head and think, how did you not win a game in that tournament? You got Platt, Lineker, Stuart Pearce, you, Alan Shearer, Alan Smith. Yeah, I mean, a great squad. And the irony is, Scotland reached those finals as well. England came home without a win. Scotland came home as well. They didn't get through their group, but they did win a game. You know, they beat Russia 3. That's not going to happen this time round, is it?
I'd be shocked. You got to remember, you named all them. Ian Wright didn't even go.
Oh.
Didn't even go. That's unbelievable. Yeah. So no, I'd be shocked if. I think we win it. I'd be disappointed if we didn't win it. And if we didn't win it, we get knocked out by France, and France go on and win it, and then you hold your hands up. But I'd be shocked if we went out by it from anybody else and we didn't win it, and they didn't win it for France.
I hope you're right, mate.
Well, I wouldn't go by that, but yeah. If you read my book, you would hold your breath.
And we've reached the end of football's greatest Euros. Merce and I will be back on Saturday with the first of our Q&A shows. You can send us a question about anything to do with the Euros, football, our careers, whatever you like, in fact. Contact us at footballsgreatest@foldingpocket.co.uk or leave us a voice note on WhatsApp. Just call 0203 951 9653. 0203 951 9653. Thanks for joining us. Football's Greatest Euros is a Folding Pocket production with BBC Studios.